Now, initiation schools will open in December. This comes after the Congress of Traditional Leaders of South Africa, Contralesa, approved the move. These schools have been closed due to the coronavirus lockdown. But is it really all systems go for initiation schools? To answer that and a whole lot more, I'm joined by the Contralesa President, Kgoshi Lameck Mokoena. Very good to have you with us this afternoon, Kgoshi Mokoena. Perhaps let's start to outline the regulations that Contralesa has put in place to ensure that this initiation season will indeed be safe for initiates.
Thank you very much, Madam, and thanks for having me. Indeed, we deemed it fit to put in some regulations to the department that will improve the situation at our initiation schools. I'm happy to say the department welcome all our proposals. Among other things, that this time around there will be no compromise. The initiate will go to the mountain before he is screened. And at this time, we will measure each and every initiate. Before going there, they must have a certificate that will indicate he is legally fit to go through the rituals. And we again emphasize on parents to say when you bring kid to the school, make sure that he has got all the necessary equipment, i.e. PPE equipment. For example, we compromise on the mask and the sanitizer. And we said again, social distancing will be a no.
Perhaps let me ask you this, Kgoshi Mokoena, before we go through the various lists. I mean, we know even with learners who were scheduled to go back to schools, there were issues of affordability when it came to some of the parents, specifically when you're talking about sanitizers, etc. And if it's the responsibility of the parent to supply the sanitizer for the initiates, is that not a loophole in the structure?
A good question, Madam. Obviously, there are some parents who might afford, but as channel leaders, we are happy to say we have had a partnership with the Department of Health to say if any parents can't afford, the department will come in handy in so that those requirements are provided to that particular initiative. They won't just be in simply because the parents can't afford, Madam.
And the issue of screening, so screening and testing, those are two very different activities. So who will be doing the screening for the learners, or rather for the initiates?
Each and every parent who are willing to send their boys to the mountain, it is their responsibility that they take their kids, their children to a doctor who will screen them and even issue them certificates. As you said in your the previous question, there might be parents who might not be able to do that. Especially, we have employed our leadership, in particular in Cape. I'm happy to say the chairperson of Contralesa and the chairperson of Provincial House. We are working nicely with. They've made me aware and assured me that the Department of Health there, they've even made sure that they don't to dispatch or unleash 60 of their kids to make sure that all these requirements are attended to, Madam.
The truth is, Kgoshi, as soon as the initiates are in your care, they become your responsibility. But before they become your responsibility, they are their parents' responsibility. Are you not perhaps concerned about the fact that you, as Contralesa, will be absorbing a liability for parents who are not going to ensure that their children have been adequately screened, that they have the proper protective equipment, not because they don't want to, but because they simply don't have the means to do that? Because now you're expecting the parents to pay for doctors' fees, which some of them might not even have.
Madam, a question, but you must remember that parents are ones who want their kids to go through this rite of passage. Any parent who decides to do this automatically means they are ready to incur all the expenses. Of course, there are boys who might want to go while their parents have all them as rightly. That's where ourselves, Contralesa, the provincial houses, and even the Department of Health will come in, because we don't want to take any step this time around unless it happens. But we want to say no to anything that might slip through our fingers in form of carelessness or restlessness, simply because one doesn't have money. But if a parent can't afford, and the demands in terms of sanitizers, the mask, and all this stuff, I can assure you, man, we'll come in and assist those parents, because we don't want boys to end up self-circumcising.
Kgoshi Mokoena, one of the regulations that you've put in place here is you say that at the initiation lodges, there will be social distancing that will be observed. How are you going to ensure this? Because initiation is traditionally a very intimate time for the young men. They're very close together in proximity physically.
There is a term that you are always using, Madam, the normal. The new normal applies to us as well. It can't be business as usual. At the mountain this time around, there will be a forced social distance. They like it, what that is going to be. Lucky enough, cultures differ. In the Eastern Cape, for example, it is possible that an initiate will go to that church being alone, or if they are two, it's easy to do it. Of course, other cultures, you find that the group is big, there are many initiates there. But this time, if an former holder in which school used to have, just give an example, 50 initiates, this time we are going to scale down the number so that it is measurable, so that social distancing is must, because this time that even law enforcement agents must come and assist, so that if anyone can't observe all these set out protocols, that Ingoma is not cannot be allowed to continue, unfortunately.
Kgoshi Mokoena, you mentioned the Eastern Cape in your example, and we know that that is one of the provinces that has one of the highest rates of deaths and botched circumcisions in the country. Even before COVID-19, there was a problem in that particular province. How are you going to mitigate those type of risks this time around, with the added risk of COVID-19 included?
I'm happy to announce that our second Contralesa, the House of Provincial Housing in the Eastern Cape, we have teamed with the Department of Health. They are going to assist in unleashing the buckets, and again, they also agreed to assist in releasing their male nurses and nurses to assist in instance. And we're happy to say, as Contralesa, we unleash our leadership in that province and other provinces where there will be citizen, where they will monitor on daily basis. We demanded them that we need reports on daily basis this time, not after a or so, but on daily basis, want a report, so that if something happens, something big happens, they are able to detect and report it immediately, so that we zoom in and the Department of Health will jump in quickly as we can. And I'm happy to say the Department of Health this time, they even assisted by making, by isolating some of the wards that will be used in our hospital. If there is some agencies that have attended to, those wards will be available for those initiatives to lay on their alone without mixing with one else. And I'm happy to say this time we are so grateful that the department are willing to assist in this case, so that we don't enter what we used to do some years back, Madam.
I wonder how you are straddling the lines between maintaining the authenticity of the practice and the authenticity of the cultural norm in the initiation process, with the advent and the introduction of Western medicine and Western nurses. How are you straddling those two without compromising?
Yeah, there are two different scenarios, Madam. When you go to in hospital, if someone is sick, will go to hospital. But when we're talking of initiation, that's why our boys would like to go to the initial school rather than going to hospital. you'll know that many of our suicide simply because if you go to hospital without going through rite of passage, a cultural way, that will be a laughing stock at school or wherever. Therefore, they are committing suicide. So we don't put pressure on our hands. Let's allow them to enjoy their culture. So there's no competition, no conflict. But as far as we're concerned, we're talking a cultural practice. But when you go to the hospital, well, that's something else. It's not initiation.
Does this mean that, Kgoshi, then the actual operation will be a Western medical procedure?
We are having our own traditional surgeons at our initial schools. I'm happy to say to you, Madam, this time around, they have been workshopped, they have been trained with the assistance of the Service Department of Health. And we made that even the caregivers have been given thorough training by the powers that be. And we're hopeful that we've got all the gaps time. And if something can just slip through our face, that would be unfortunate. But now we've tried to straighten all the gaps, and I'm happy the cooperation that we're getting from the provincials, in particular in Eastern Cape, and the leadership of Contralesa in the Eastern Cape. We are very proud and happy that we know that at this time, one have lambasting as culture simply because of carelessness or recklessness.
There have been calls, Kgoshi Mokoena, from some quarters that the heads of the initiation schools should be held personally liable should there be a death or a botch of an operation in any of the initiates. How far are you with that particular process? Is it something that you are considering or working on?
Madam, it will be interesting one day a doctor had watched operation when doctor will be arrested, put to jail. I'm waiting for that as well. If that can happen, I'll be happy to answer your question. But now, we don't wish anything to happen because those boys really, they because they love culture. And parents send their boys to go and initiate it, not to die. We hope that won't get a question because if there's this cooperation between ourselves and parents and even the hospital, the Department of Health, as they have committed themselves, we must reach this question. But thanks for that. Unfortunately, it doesn't apply at this moment. But if anyone will be recklessly raising our kids in the mountain, definitely no one will go free simply because there's no legislation that with anyone who is the owner of the initiations. We're working on this, and I'm hopeful that one day we'll get it. But as I said, Madam, it will be very interesting that the one has been arrested in one hospital simply because of botched operation, Madam.
Kgoshi Mokoena, have there been instances perhaps when you had been charged, perhaps the parents came back and then laid a charge against yourselves for such?
Police arrested those who were negligent, those who have been identified as being negligent at our schools. Many have been charged and were sentenced. I can cite one example at Masoi. There are many of them, Masoi in Mpumalanga Province. One initial owner was arrested, as I'm to you, is still in prison now, and he's the givers because they're reckless, they were careless, they didn't follow all the protocol, the norms that are supposed to be followed at our schools. Obviously, that tells you, madam, that no one is free, can do as we simply can be arrested. Anyone who reckless in terms of our schools, definitely the law will take us. Hence, we invite even the law enforcement agencies to be part of us when we deal with this time around. Madam.
Kgoshi Mokoena, we thank you so much for your time this afternoon, as well as briefing the nation as to the plans that Contralesa has in place to ensure that the initiates who start going for their initiation this particular summer do so in a way that is safe starting December.